guys know why we're here? Why? Yeah, we're doing a read aloud, exactly. Sorry, that's great. So we're gonna do read aloud. I know you guys, that's right, because we talked about this. You guys have been reading One and Only Ivan. I wanna say thank you for just stopping that today. I'm not gonna read that with you. That's something that you're reading with your teacher. But I'm gonna read a different story. And we're gonna practice really being good speakers today. Well, first of all, when we're reading aloud, which I know I already know this about you because you've been talking about how much you love the One and Only Ivan. But the most important thing is we want to really practice being good thinkers, really thinking a lot about what we're learning about these characters, what they're teaching us. And then the other thing we want to do is we want to be really good talkers, the best partner we can be today, but even more importantly, the very best listener that we can be. It's not easy to listen. I'm not a very good listener. I know, Ethan, it's really sad. I feel that way too. It's something I'm always practicing to try to get better at. Just be quiet, Christy, just be quiet. Just listen better. So, one thing that helps me to listen really, really well is to look at the person that's speaking. So when I tell you to turn and talk, it's really important that you're turning your whole body and looking at the person, and so that way they really know that you're really listening to them. Can you just practice that real quick? Good job. Okay, come back. Awesome. Great. Good. So, so readers, we're going to read this story. It's called Each Kindness, and it is by one of my, if not favorite, authors ever. Her name is Jacqueline Woodson, and she wrote The Other Side. I do too, and I know you know it, right? Yeah. So I want you to think about the other side. Think back to remember the other side. Remember what that was about? About this fence that divided a white family and a black family. Remember that? Yeah. And so think back to what you learned about that book and how these girls became friends. No matter the only thing that mattered was what was inside, not the color of their skin. And I want you to think about then, thinking about what you remember about the other side. Take a peek at the cover here, Each Kindness. There's a little girl on the cover here. And then there's a different little girl on the back. She's doing something different. Do you see her? And just what do you predict will happen in this book? And think a little bit about what you know about the other side and how that might influence your prediction. And don't forget to think about the title. It's called Each Kindness. So try and tell your partner. What do you predict you'll see in this book?
I think that people are like she's going to.
Can you add on, Jacob? Add on.
What
else do you think it could be about?
And people are
Did you see the cover? Did you see how one girl, what was she doing on the cover? On the back. She was playing jump rope on the front. Do you remember what she was doing? Do you remember what she was doing?
Yeah, you think something like that?
Yeah, look at, how do you think she's feeling there? A little different than this girl. Think about the title. Now turn and talk to your partner. What do you think? Figure out that. Oh yeah, I have that same. No problem. Okay, readers, here we go. Each Kindness. Let's see. One morning, as we settled into our seats, the classroom door opened and the principal came in. She had a girl with her and she said to us, "This is Maya." Maya looked down at the floor. I think I heard her whisper, "Hello." We all stared at her. Her coat was open and the clothes beneath it looked old and ragged. Her shoes were spring shoes, not meant for the snow. A strap on one of them was broken. So I'm getting some ideas about Maya. She's got some things that I'm a little concerned about. I'm learning about her. One is that she's new, and I know what it's like to be new. I was new once when I entered 3rd grade. I was new. It's scary being new. Miles, yeah. So it's always like scary, and you just want to fit in and make friends, and So there's that makes me worried for Maya, but also she doesn't have the right clothes for the time of the year. It's cold out, she doesn't have the right shoes. So that makes me feel like, I'm worried about her. I'm worried about her not being comfortable. If she goes out to recess, that she's gonna be cold or get sick. And then I'm just also concerned, I'm wondering if her family doesn't have a lot of money. And that maybe that's why she doesn't have the right clothes for that time of the year. Our teacher, Miss Albert, said, "Say good morning to our new student," but most of us were silent. The only empty seat was next to me. That's where our teacher put Maya. And on that first day, Maya turned to me and smiled. But I didn't smile back. I moved my chair, myself, and my books a little farther away from her. When she looked my way, I turned to the window and stared out at the snow. And every day after that, when Maya came into the classroom, I looked away and I didn't smile back. All right, so we don't know the narrator's name yet, but we're getting some ideas about the narrator. Are you getting some ideas? What kind of person do you think the narrator is, and what makes you think that? Turn and tell your partner.
I think she's kind of like, you know when you're shout at me, or doesn't have, but it's not.
Yeah, but she's probably funny. I know, but I feel like she doesn't really kind of smile to know it is being
Ethan, you want to add on? Can you find a good replacement text for you to with her? Or you guys spoil it. What do you think about, you can think just about this part right now. What do you think about the narrator? Sonny, what do you think about that? She's shy. I think do you agree with her? She's shy. But yeah, she'd be shy. Sonny.
Yeah,
Good job. And every day after that, when Maya came into the classroom, I looked away and I didn't smile back. My best friends that year were Kendra and Sophie. At lunchtime, we walked around the schoolyard, our fingers laced together, whispering secrets in each other's ears. One day, while we were near the slide, Maya came over to us. She held open her hands to show us the shiny jacks and tiny red balls she'd gotten for her birthday. "It's a high bouncer," she said, but none of us wanted to play. So Maya played a game against herself. Getting some more ideas about Maya, right? So interesting, like she's the new girl, and she's going up to the girls and talking to them and sharing like what she's playing, and they're not really responding very nicely to her, are they? And she's like, whatever, I'll go play by myself. That's okay, So it's like to me, Maya seems like the kind of person who is really comfortable being with herself and likes herself a lot, which I really admire that. She also doesn't seem to be the kind, she seems like she's really positive. Like she could go sulk in the corner, right? Be really down in the dumps. But instead, she's like, that's okay, no big deal, I'll keep playing. So I really like Maya. That afternoon when we got back into the classroom, Maya whispered to me, bet you can't guess who the New Jack's champion of the world is. Behind me, Andrew whispered, Chloe's got a new friend, Chloe's got a new friend. She's not my friend, I whispered back. So now we know the main character's name, Chloe. The weeks passed. Every day we whispered about Maya, laughing at her clothes, her shoes, the strange food she brought for lunch. Some days Maya held out her hand to show us what she had brought to school, a deck of cards, pickup sticks, a small tattered doll. Whenever she asked us to play, we said no. Wow, so I'm reading this part, and it really goes with earlier in the text, because right here she's like, you know, Maya's showing them her stuff that she's playing with, and they say no. She doesn't want to do it. They don't want to play with her. That happened earlier in the text, didn't it? You know, where she was like, you know, showed her jacks and her cards or whatever, and they're like, nope, we don't want to play with you. So it's really making me think that Maya is like really persistent, really trying. You know, just this very kind of determined character, but also kind of like, oh, all right, that's okay. And it's really bothering me how Chloe and her friends are just from the first day of school to several times after, just ignoring her, turning her away. Actually, not really ignoring her, turning her away. They said no, you know, anytime she wanted to play. The days grew warmer and warmer. The pond thawed, grass began growing where snow had once been. One day Maya came to school wearing a pretty dress and fancy shoes, but the shoes and the dress looked like they belonged to another girl before Maya. I have a new name for her, Kendra whispered. Never knew. Everything she has came from a secondhand store. We all laughed. Maya stood by the fence. She was holding a jump rope but did not come over to us to ask us if we wanted to play. After a while, she folded it double, rolled the ends around each hand, and started jumping. She jumped around the whole schoolyard without stopping. She didn't look up once, just jumped, jumped, jumped. Think about what happened on this page. How does this go with earlier? And what does it make you think? Stop and jot on your Post-it. About what happened here. How does it go with earlier? Talk to your partner a little bit about this. You might even want to add to your Post-it once you talk to your partner. Turn and talk to your partner. What just happened? How does it go with earlier? What does it make you think? She jumped around the whole schoolyard without stopping. She didn't look up once, just jumped, jumped, jumped. Just put your jotting back in front of you, please. Awesome. The next day, Maya's seat was empty. In the class that morning, we were talking about kindness. Miss Albert had brought a big bowl into class and filled it with water. We all gathered around her desk and watched her drop a small stone into it. Tiny waves rippled out, away from the stone. This is what kindness does, Miss Albert said. Each little thing we do goes out like a ripple into the world. Then Miss Albert let us each drop the stone in as we told her what kind things we had done. Joseph had held the door for his grandmother. Kenra helped change her baby brother's diaper. Even mean old Andrew had done something. I carried teacher's books up the stairs, he said, and Miss Albert said it was true. I stood there holding Miss Albert's rock in my hand, silent. Even small things count, Miss Albert said gently, but I couldn't think of anything and passed the stone on. Why do you think the author included these 2 pages? Why is this part important, do you think? Why do you think this part is important? Turn and tell your partner. Turn and tell your partner.
It's important
she might have something to talk about, and it will just help everybody will think she is
it makes her sad until it angers her
I stood there holding Miss Albert's rock in my hand, silent. Even small things count, Miss Albert said gently, but I couldn't think of anything and passed the stone on. Maya didn't come to school the next day or the day after that. Each morning I walked to school slowly, hoping this would be the day Maya returned and she'd look at me and smile. I promised myself this would be the day I smiled back. Each kindness, Miss Albert had said, makes the whole world a little bit better. But Maya's seat remained empty, and one day Miss Albert announced to the class that Maya wouldn't be coming back. Her family had to move away, Miss Albert said. Then she told us to take out our notebooks. It was time for writing. That afternoon, I walked home alone. When I reached the pond, my throat filled with all the things I wish I would have said to Maya, each kindness I had never shown. I threw small stones into it over and over, watching the way the water rippled out and away, out and away. Like each kindness done and not done, like every girl somewhere holding a small gift out to someone, and that someone turning away from it. I watched the water ripple as the sun set through the maples, and the chance of a kindness with Maya became more and more forever gone. Why do you think Jacqueline Woodson ended the story like this? Think about what happened, think about the ending. What do you think she's trying to teach you? Stop and jot on the second post-it. What lesson are you learning? You might even try, sometimes in life, people but instead people Take about 10 seconds to finish your jotting, and when you're done, just stick it out in front of you. No. Okay, so readers, can I stop you for a second? And just look this way. I think you guys have been doing this. Having a grand conversation. Have you guys been doing this a little bit with Ivan and other read-alouds? Yeah, good. So that's what we're gonna do. And we're gonna try to practice 3 things today, maybe even 4, since you guys are really good at this. We're going to try to hear as many voices as we can speak. You don't have to raise your hand, you just speak when it's silent. You guys know that, right? And we're gonna try to be the very best listener we can be. So we wanna really hear what other people are saying, and one thing that I think is really helpful is our body language. So really making sure that we're like leaning into that person that's speaking, like looking, moving our body to see that person if we can. And then we wanna make sure that we cite the text, and we can cite other texts too. So we wanna use the text to make sure we use parts of the text. Say, for example, in the part when, or this goes with the part in the other side, so you can also be thinking about the other side as well. And the 4th thing that maybe we might want to try after our conversation goes a little bit is we might want to respectfully disagree. Sorry? Okay, I know, it feels a little bit like, really? Yeah, but when you say, well, I'd like to respectfully disagree with that idea. Because one of the things to help us to think about a story, and think about any story, any text, is that when we disagree with somebody, sometimes it pushes us to new thinking, new ideas. But we want to do it with respect, of course. So we can even say, I respectfully disagree with that idea. And it's really important to do that. But sometimes we have to get the conversation going first a little bit. Okay, I'm going to jot down the amazing things you're saying, so try not to look at me, try not to look at any of the teachers. Who wants to get us started? What are your thoughts? Someone get us started? Go ahead.
The lesson I learned is if you're not nice, it might be too late the time you want to be nice.
The lesson I learned is be kind to one another, or you might miss out on what's happening around you.
If you be mean, you might not have any more friends if you be mean.
So, readers, there's 3 ideas there. You might lose your friends, you might miss out, or it might be too late. 3 different ideas. JF put out one, Caitlin put out one, Jessie put out one. They're all 3 a little different. Let's see if we can pick one that we can talk long about. And JF, you were the first one that spoke, so why don't we think a little bit and linger a little bit around your idea? It might be too late. What do you think about that? Turn and tell your partner. What do you think about what JF said?
I think that about what I that when you want to this time that messed up a lot of time. The time that they were back they're not bad friends. They realize they're upset and then they move away, so I think that they don't have a chance to they're not going to be your friends. They're not already
he's done. So like you can't change it because they're already gone.
So you just have to restart the conversation. Would you mind starting the conversation? Okay, eyes on Jonelle. She's going to start the conversation. Go ahead.
The conversation about like what JF said or something.
If you'd like to add on, because that's what we were talking about, right?
Like the way he said it, like if Amaya was being mean to Jessie, if he kept asking to play with her and she kept saying no, and he wouldn't feel too happy about that. So if one day he goes out to play by himself and doesn't ask Amaya to play with him.
If you mess up a lot of times with one of your friends, they're gonna say to themselves, they are not my friend because they're just gonna be mean to me again and again. I agree with him because when you do that, you're not really going to like it. You're gonna regret asking them to play. You're gonna regret to ask them to play anymore, and you're gonna regret to ask them ever again.
I agree with Katie, but if you keep being mean to the person, and if like it's already done and they move away, then you don't have a chance to talk to them and say what you were gonna say, like the nice thing. You don't have time to talk to them and say what you were gonna say. So then it's already done, and you can't go back and say it unless you go where they are. I agree with Daniel because like what he said is like true. Like if you move away, you can't do it, but you could change. Like you could change and be a new friend in the other schools.
I
And
agree.
be a nicer person.
I agree with Jacob because, like, if you're not nice to a person, they won't ask you to play anymore, and it could be too late by the time you want to be nice to them, and you probably wish you could go back in time.
I agree with JF because I used to be like that, but now I'm not because I learned to be nice to people.
Can I give you a kiss? The best thing I've ever heard all day. So one thing I was thinking about was, where is the teacher in all of this? I'm a little mad at her. Turn and tell your partner, what do you think about the teacher?
I think she's just like, she doesn't care
She
about the teacher. She didn't ask about feelings that they're being that she was feeling. She didn't ask about she's not in the house. And she doesn't pay attention to any of the stuff. She just walks around texting while she heard somebody
You're fine, I can do it.
teacher wasn't there in anything. She didn't just act but I always to be nice to the girl. She wasn't there in anything.
She's going to ask you a question. Okay, Linnea's going to start the conversation, so eyes on her. Linnea, what are your thoughts about the teacher?
I think the teacher is like nice because she didn't want to get in the kids' business unless the kids came to her and told her what was going on. I agree with Linnea because the teacher was trying to teach them a lesson, not just help because they're fighting, because they're going to learn a lesson, and being kind is a very, very important lesson for us.
I agree with Caitlin because like when you're making friends, it's just like you want to play with them, but until they say no,
it's like they being angry at you for some reason, but they might be or not. So but sometimes you just want to keep asking until they say, but that's not the right
But
thing.
wait a minute, you know, the very first day she comes in and Chloe looks away, pushes her books. The teacher was right there. Why didn't the teacher do something then?
Because she's probably playing on her phone.
I know, seriously. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Playing what? Playing what? Pokemon Go? Catching those Charizards? Or Pokemon? She's probably
I agree with Jacob, but the teacher could have helped a little bit with them. She could have helped a little bit when she could have helped when asked Chloe to be a little bit nice to her because she's new and all. I disagree with Fashawn because
Respectfully.
I respectfully disagree with Fashawn because, like, the teacher could have at least done one thing about it, and she could have seen it and, like, let it go once, but the second time she could have gone out there and said, like,
Look around the room.
like, you should be a little bit nicer.
I agree with JS because, like, teachers, they should always be involved with stuff that's going on around them.
So that leads me to, who do you think has the power? Sorry, I know you wanted to say something. Do you want to say something? Say it real quick.
I respectfully disagree because maybe the teacher wasn't near them.
So that's interesting. Who do you think has the power in this story? Think about the different characters. Turn and tell your partner. Who do you think has the power?
I think it's the teacher in this story because the teacher wasn't there. Chloe was the one that has power. She's like had that she could have said like, no, you're not the teacher.
Yes, you've been a really good argument.
She's yelling at everyone else. Chloe has the power because she's waiting for everybody else to make
Okay, eyes on Griffin. Can we face back to the center and eyes on Griffin? Go ahead, Griffin.
I think the three friends have power because the teacher has to be around them for once in the book, and she didn't do anything. So I feel like she's probably doesn't even care. She just wants money. I agree.
Somebody better disagree with that.
No, I agree because okay. Well, I kind of disagree, but she's waiting for everybody else to make decisions for her, and she can make her own decisions because she's old enough, and she's just waiting for everybody else to say something, but she has her own mind. She has her own words to say.
I agree with Daniel because I kind of agree and disagree with Daniel because some teachers are different from other teachers. And
What do you think about what Griffin said about the girls? The friends have power.
I think the teacher has the power because she tried to let them solve their own problem.
Well, see,
I agree with Linnea because
I
agree with Linnea because she's right. The teacher should have the power and she should be be around them at all times. Like if she looks over at them and she thinks there's a problem going on, so she'll at least get a little closer.
I respectfully disagree with Janelle because I think that Chloe has the power to help that girl and help her get along, and she's doing nothing about that. She has her own mind and she's letting other people decide for her. I respectfully disagree with Katie because I think both the teacher and Chloe have power because the teacher, could get involved and she could say like, no, you can't do this, and yes, you can do this. And I also think that Chloe had the power because she had the choice between being good and like being nice and being not nice.
I agree with Jay. It's because Chloe and the teacher should, because the teacher.
I want to end with one thing, so stop you just 1 second, Jacob, because we're kind of going long on this. One thing I want to ask you guys, a lot of girls in this book. There's only one boy that I think was mentioned. Think this would be different? I know, you don't even realize, Griffin, it's mostly fellow girls.
I didn't hear about a boy.
There was a boy,
Who was this
Andrew. He
boy?
was only in for a minute.
Oh.
So why do you think Jacqueline Woodson did that? Why do you think that this was really mostly girls in this book? Do you think this would be different if it were boys? Turn and tell your partner.
I think
Okay, eyes on Jacob. Jacob's gonna start the conversation.
It would be a lot different because the boys would be, I think, like way meaner.
Yeah. I agree, because boys are like that, like me and my brother. We're like always mean to each other. And I agree because boys are just, yeah, they're just mean to each other.
I respectfully disagree with Daniel because girls, I can't believe I'm saying this, but like, girls are troublemakers. They always start the drama, and that's why
That's right.
That's why she probably picked the girls to mostly be in the story.
I agree with Jay.
Let's think of the book though. Do you remember when Andrew came in?
Yeah.
I think they made the story like with all girls because boys are hard-headed and some may not be and some may be, and they, instead of them solving their own problems, they could have went up to the teacher and told, and then made it a whole different kind of story.
Behind me, Andrew whispered, "Chloe's got a new friend, Chloe's got a new friend." She's not my friend, I whispered back. So I disagree with Jonelle. Jonelle, you said girls are the ones that are troublemakers and start the drama, but here it was the boy, Lily, that started the drama here. So that's interesting here that it was that in the text it's a little different. What do you think?
I agree.
Miles, go
I
ahead.
respectfully disagree with what Jacob and Daniel said ago because I believe boys are more interactive than girls are. They make friends quicker because they like to interact. They have lots of things.
They like video games.
Yeah.
Except video games, you don't interact.
No,
No, you just stare at a screen the whole time.
I respectfully
To
disagree.
talk about
Because
games.
boys, you have to prove yourself to be friends with most boys.
Yeah,
I agree.
disagree.
I agree.
Love it.
Because like they're always talking about video games and like just cool video games and
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. Readers, I'm gonna stop you right there. Could you do me a favor? Could you put your initials, your first and last initial on your Post-its? Could you hand your Post-its to a teacher close